Namaste, Narasimhaya. Bhaktimarga Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giravaradari Jaya Yashoda Nandan Jaya Braja Janandana Jaya Braja Janandana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janandana Jaya Braja Janandana Yeravana Shari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Yeravana Shari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. 3 minutes on chanting japa, mantra meditation. If you have beads, that's fantastic. So we'll just say the mantra. Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Hare. Might be a good idea to sit nice and straight and tall with your back, neck, and head erect in a straight line. We are concentrating on the beautiful personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, Lord Shri Krishna, and joy, Rama, comes from serving him. Okay? So, together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Gyanantamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitangina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so from chapter 5, text 7. You can try to repeat after me. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. Sorry, we're doing 8 and 9. Naiva Kinchit Kurumiti. Naiva Kinchit Kurumiti. Yukto Manyeta Tattvavit. Yukto Manyeta Tattvavit. Pashan Srinvan Sprishan Jigran. Asnan Gachan Swapan Shwasan. Okay, want a little more of that fun thing? Okay, all right. Pralapan Vishrijan Grinan. Unmishan Nimishanapi. Indriyan Rindiyarteshu. Vantata Iti Dharayan. And the translation to the whole thing goes like this. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktimarga Swami Prabhupada. And can we not look at that because I want to charade it out? Okay? Just kill it. Okay. Okay, purport by Prabhupada. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence, and consequently he has nothing to do with any work which depends upon 5 immediate and remote causes. The doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting within his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement in material consciousness. This is material. In material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification. Here's a new one. But in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is always happy. Okay. Free. Okay. Is always free. I lost my spot. Okay. The Krishna conscious person always free, even though he appears to be engaged in affairs of the senses. Activities such as seeing, hearing are actions of the senses meant for receiving knowledge, whereas moving, lips, talking, speaking, this one I won't, evacuating, etc. are actions of the senses meant for work. A Krishna conscious person is never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. Purport. That's the end of it, okay. All right, so these are two verses that are coupled together. Sometimes it's meant to be that way. Some shlokas or verses have some continuity, and so that we have in this case here. So really what we're talking about here, looking at this chapter, karma yoga. Karma means activity. Yoga means that which unites you, connects you with the divine, with Krishna, and translated as action in Krishna consciousness. So for those of us who are involved in activities such as is mentioned here, and there are many, touching, feeling, etc., speaking, evacuating, urinating, etc., etc., all these things that we do, we probably pass water 7 times a day. That's whether you live in the forest or not. Depends on how much you drink, I guess, too. Okay? But we are involved in all these activities, but you can see with the human conscious mind that there's something different between myself and the activities that are going on. I'm seeing that they go on, or sometimes nature forces things to happen in terms of the action that's taking place and the interaction of the senses. But we understand, just like you're aloof from it at the same time. You're performing the action. Sometimes it's a reaction, but still you are aloof from it. And sometimes we feel that it's one but different, and that's maybe a more accurate way of putting it. Yes, I'm executing these activities. Yes, I'm involved. Yes, I'm reacting. But still, there is something that is observing all these actions. Like sometimes we put together a drama, and I train everyone, let's walk in slow motion. And you'll be surprised how many people don't do it right. They start doing like a Frankenstein walk, and like this. But usually it's like the right leg comes forward and the left arm comes forward to get the balance, And so maybe sometimes for some people that we put them through this training, they realize for the first time, hey, I'm now becoming conscious of my walking, because we take it very automatically. Somehow the brain power allows the mechanism to just take place. But all you have to do is you be determined, I'm going from point A to point B. And you don't have to think, left foot up, move it forward, put it down, left leg up. You don't have to think about those things, right? But when you go through it consciously, you'll see, well, there is something going on here. The machinery is working. Now we must analyze very carefully. Am I a machine? Am I this machine that's doing all these things? And then at some point in time, you won't be able to walk. Some of us, unfortunately, when we get to our mature years, we might not be able to walk, or we'll have a walker that just pushes us along, like this. We might not be able to see. We might not be able to hear. The machinery starts breaking down slowly, gradually. The last time I saw Bhaktimarga, he said, when you reach 60, everything starts to slowly fall apart. And I was 55 at that time when I talked to him about that. I said, oh my God. We know everywhere around us, these things are going on. Like when King Yudhishthira met with the Yaksha at the lake of death. The Yaksha asked lots of questions. Answer my questions before you drink that water. Because the Yaksha owned this. This is my water, my property. private property, no drinking, or else. Almost like a hillbilly thing. Get off my property or I'll shoot. You know, it's a little bit like that. So don't drink or you'll become unconscious like the rest of your brothers. He got very thirsty. Answer my questions first. So Yudhishthira is straining for and one of the questions that came that Prabhupada highlights is, tell me the most amazing thing that you could ever think about. And Yudhishthira came very quickly with all of his answers, and this one as well. So the most amazing thing that has ever happened in this world, or that I can conjure up, is everywhere people around me are dying, but I don't think I'm going to die. There's something about me that thinks I'm invincible, you know. But everybody knows the story of the Titanic. Well, we're all going to be at Titanic, and we're going to go, First it's like this, and we stay down. But of course, there's transmigration of the soul. We have another chance. But you're observing these things about yourself. Sometimes you say things to someone you're not always conscious of. And you say, oh God, did I say that? Did that filth come out of my mouth? Did that 4-letter word that's not Rama come out of my mouth? Was it really me? Well, you willed it. You got caught up in your emotions and it blurted out, whether you like it or not. Now you can fix it up. You can say, oh, I didn't really mean that. Like Justin's father, years ago, he said the magic word in Parliament. And then, what was that? What was that? And fuddle-duddle. You had to cover it up in those, and then everyone got T-shirts with fuddle-duddle on it. So, you know, we slip, we make mistakes. Sometimes things are done intentionally, but especially when you're reacting to something, and you have to, and you react quickly, then you're not really thinking about, you know, that particular drive, that motivation, or the mechanics behind it. So I think everybody can appreciate that there's something different. Like because it's mentioned, evacuating. Isn't it nice to know that's not me? Isn't it nice to know, oh, thank God it's not me. That's not me. My machinery is doing it, but it's not me. Thank God. Okay, so these, I have to see the difference between the potter who makes this. I was touching this earlier on. I think it's a real thing. It's actually pottery, am I right? You know, so there's a difference between the potter, the material, and the end result. You know? And also the action, you know, which, you know, maybe things are done by hand, you know, that's on the spinning, whatever the mechanism, and then you shape it, and you've seen people do all kinds of interesting shit. They do that with glass too. And they do that with glass. And if you make a mistake, they call it a fiasco. It's an Italian word, fiasco, if you make a mess. So oftentimes we do fiascos. You know? And we have to take some, let's say, take the responsibility for our actions. Even when you're very careful on the path of devotion, and you're careful about what you do and what you say and how you behave, still there will be slip-ups, there will be mistakes. And then you again question, gee, if I had a chance to do it again, let me do it again. That maybe you won't have, second time around, maybe it will happen. Next time around, you'll do better. But it's okay to make mistakes, but you have to have regret and remorse and some kind of repentance. Otherwise, you won't tidy up your act. You'll keep doing the same thing again and again. Everybody has to feel a little guilty about things that we do. You know, it happens like that. How about when you chant in your beads, you reminisce, you go back in the past. You go down nostalgic lane. It says, oh my God, did I do that? You know, like 50 years ago, I did, you know, I forgot about that. Gee, I wish I could make it up. But the people I offended, they're no longer on the planet. You know, I cannot apologize. So what can I do? What can I do? Well, all these mechanical things go on in the matter of what's called the working senses and the knowledge acquiring senses, is that you can use them, dovetail them all in Krishna's service. That's what is being said here in the purport. You can be like King Ambarish. And when we hear about kings, they're not just politicians. They're not just greedy guys. They're actually people who are, there are some people, and history tells us, there were some very fine people who led the land and who were putting it in the right direction. So Ambarish Maharaj, the king, he was one of those people. And he used his eyes for seeing the form of the Lord. He used his nose for smelling the incense and things that are offered to the Lord. He would walk to the place where spiritual activities were taking place, like say, for instance, at the temple. He would be touching. He would also be touching. He would use the sense of touch to touch the devotees, the bodies of the devotees, give them hugs and touch their feet, whatever, and you know that, and many more things. You know. And so it's all a channeling, and it's a dovetailing process. All of the senses he used in the service of the Lord. And so it is said that he actually specialized in what's called giving it all up, surrendering everything. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam means that you surrender everything in Krishna's service. So now, this is a very special year for us here, members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's been 50 years since it's been, let's say, existing. This was 1966 that Srila Prabhupada came, or rather he established the movement and got it registered in New York City in July. And then the movement, you know, it took hold. He got some members, you know, he got people to sign in as, you know, like the executive group. And so we were on, and Mukunda Maharaj himself, since we mentioned him earlier on, he was very instrumental in getting those kind of things going, and you know, planting the seed, and you know, instigating the whole Krishna consciousness movement, which spread all over the world. You know. And the movement went through, you know, different phases, and just like any new mission that starts, or a new group of people that come, like say, you got many people that came from Europe for so many decades, maybe centuries, and landed on the sort of the East Coast, and they came and they saw, you know, Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, holding up the torch at New York City, and seeing, you know, the Empire State Building, a building that represents this is the land of opportunity. Start fresh, start new. You can do we accept you, we love you, do like that. You can make a living here. You know, so all those kind of optimistical elements were there, and then there were some hiccups too. Just like, let's say when immigrants came, also a group of people, maybe Italians, maybe some Jewish folks came. They all came in a huddle, you know, oftentimes on the same boat together, and they tried to live together, work together, help each other, and they themselves would also encounter some challenges. You know, maybe the adjusting to the new world wasn't so easy. You know, I remember my parents, they came from Europe, and they came 1950, I believe 52, and I was born in 52, they came in 50, and it was hard for them to adjust. They actually froze. They froze. They stayed in the Netherlands. They didn't change with the changing world, you know. And somewhere that you have to do that. You have to change with the world. So the Society of ISKCON went through its own changes, and you know, but for the most part, we've succeeded. I remember on the second walk I did across Canada, and I stayed with a Mr. and Mrs. Sharma in Moose Jaw, and they were an older couple, and I knew them from the first walk. And Mrs. Sharma and I were having a little discussion. And she was just talking about, in Hinduism, it's a good religion. She was talking, it's a good culture because it's always ready for change. It's ready to take on some new ideas, fresh ideas. It's ready to adjust instead of like a rigid approach, It's all like this, it's all black and white, the right-wing approach to life. So I thought that was very profound that she said that. And Prabhupada, we must understand, he was also, as a person, he was quite flexible too. There's some things he didn't want to compromise with, and then there's certain areas where he did want to compromise. But basic principles he wanted to hold on to. He didn't want to, let's say, adjust in those circumstances. So anyways, here we are 50 years later, and it's a time for celebration. Here in Canada, we've decided to make it a national festival in Montreal, Quebec, because Prabhupada went there first when he had visa issues. He left America, and then he went to Canada, to Montreal. And then some of his shishyas or students went with him, and they established a center there. Prabhupada said interesting things. He looked at the people and he talked with them, and he, let's say, made observation and communicated somewhat. He said, you must serve lots of prasadam to these people. You must give them lots of prasadam, sanctified food. So we're having a celebration on Labor Day weekend there, and all of you are invited to participate in that. We're having some very senior devotees there, like Shyamsundar and Guru Das, to be there to speak. And if you're thinking about holidays and marking on your calendar where to go, maybe go east, young man, and young woman, elderly, ever think about going out there and celebrating with us in that glorious event. And of course, you're totally entitled to have your own festival here to honor the 50 years. It's a golden period, and it is quite remarkable what happened. A 70-year-old gentleman, 5'3" I believe he was, daringly, little brown man. There was hardly any chocolate shaded people coming in those days, and he came humble, and daring. When I say daring, I mean he had his sannyas, saffron clothes, and so on like that. And he started this mission, and it's remarkable what he did, spread all over the world. So I can't remember the last time I came here, but I think it was, do you remember? It's been a while. Okay, so since then, I did a walk from Boston to Butler, Pennsylvania, where Prabhupada spent 1 month, and then walked from there to New York City, kind of like symbolically following his trail. Prabhupada spent 1 month there, and I also walked 1 month in Pennsylvania. The devotees with New Vrindavan, we had organized a big banquet there in Butler, Pennsylvania, and Prabhupada was sponsored by the Agarwal family. And I had a chance to spend about an hour and a half with Sally Agarwal. She's an American woman, and she married Gopal Agarwal, who was freshly arrived from India. He didn't yet have his, status as an American, but she did. So papers came to sponsor the Swami over. And she looked at her picture and she was a little frightened. Anyway, she signed it. She's the one that signed it. I said, nothing will ever come of it. Wow, she was wrong. But what she did, she was talking about how delightful it was for Prabhupada. He would stay at the YMCA, which is the building is still there. It's an old building now. They built a new one there. And at that time, the owners, I'm talking about back in, when we were there in October, they gave us the desk that they believed Prabhupada worked on. He stayed in the second or third floor of that building. And so that was a nice catch. Sally went on to explain how it was with Prabhupada. He would come and cook. He would walk from the YMCA, it's just a few blocks down to the house, which is still there. And he would cook on like a 4-tier system. Dal, rice, some steamed veggies and one other item. And this way he provided food for the family, at lunch. And he would also sit down, and he was fascinated with a vacuum cleaner. He would ask all kinds of questions and talk about it to her forever, you know. And she was telling me all these things. And he was just delighted. And people were very curious to see this person from India, because nobody from India arrived at was in that town. And a Swami at that. So they come and meet him, and, you know. He also had his first speech there at the YMCA, the first talk that he gave in America. And he was also interviewed by the Butler Eagle, the newspaper. And I don't think there was any article that was published about Krishna consciousness until, well, I got there. We arranged to meet with the people. So a gentleman came from Butler Eagle, and right in front of the YMCA building. And he was fascinated. You know, you mean Hare Krishna started here? In Butler, Pennsylvania? You know, and he was fascinated. Said, yep, it all began here. The seeds were planted here. And we did have a very big banquet, and about 200 devotees came from different parts of the U.S. and the Northeast, and also some from Canada. And we had a Kirtan downtown. It was in the rain. And we did go quite close to the house where the Agrawals lived. And devotees, you know, they get carried away in their emotions. People live in that house. And, you know, devotees came running over there at the front, and they put their, you know, they were wet steps, and they were going like this, you know, like that. And I said, get back here, get back here. And it was really a fabulous feast. So there were many occasions where at the beginning of the walk, and I just want to tell you, our hook with the media was, we're walking for our teachers. This is a walk for our teachers. And in the broad sense, you know, I personally believe we don't thank our teachers enough. You know, they get paid, and so we just say, oh, well, they're getting paid, right? So why should I be nice to them? You know, when I was a kid growing up, we all were taught, well, maybe bring an apple to your teacher. One that doesn't have a worm in it, of course. You know, and be nice, you know, because in my day, the teacher would give a strap. I remember my sister telling me, teacher gave a strap. That's what it was like in those days. You try to do that now, and you're in prison. It's a very different world. But there was, and then if your parents found out that the teacher would give you a strap, you might get a second strap from your parents. You know, there was some kind of discipline. It wasn't abusive, and I asked my sister, did it hurt? Well, not really. And she had skinny fingers. So, but yeah, so it was very different in those days, and we were living in a different kind of existence. So in Butler, Pennsylvania, we walked in. Initially, I was in Connecticut, and on the second day, myself and I was with 3 other boys from Canada. They joined me in the beginning, and 2 of us were going to go for a swim because it was a hot day in late September, and there's lots of lakes over there in New England, and we were just ready to dive in. Suddenly we saw something shiny and colorful at the bottom of the lake. I said, what's that? And then Brahmachari looked and said, that's Ganesh. There's Ganesh here in Massachusetts? So what should we do, Maharaj? And I said, pull him out, dry him up, and we'll put him in and make him a passenger. And, you know, he'll clear the way, you know, for any obstacles on the path of devotion. He'll be there for us. So we have Ganesh with us. There was also a cat that followed us, and he became a member also, a new passenger, until he ran away. But there was this cat that followed us for like 3-4 kilometers. What are you going to do? The owner, and he seems like a nice cat. We fell in love with him. Okay, you're with us. We dropped him off at Gita Nagari. Next morning we got up to continue to the walk, and he was right there at the door. So we had to pull him in. So I was walking. We went to Hartford. Anybody else got cell phones? Please do something about it. It was Radhastami. That was the day that we saw Ganesh. And we went to the Hartford Temple. And there I met a young fellow, and he was a little over 6 feet. He was Afro-American, dreadlocks and everything. And I told him about what we're doing, our walk. And he says to me, I want to go with you. And I said, well, you were just telling me that you have a girlfriend. I'll talk to her. But what about your mother? I'll take care of that too. But you were also telling me that you were like you were the best salesperson in your men's clothing store for several months in a row. I'll ask for an absenteeism. So leave of absence, whatever. So I talked to Vivaswan, my support person. So what do you think? Here's this new guy who's never been to a temple before. Oh, okay, let's try him out. And then we told him our rules, and so he came along. And we found out we had the same birthdays, and so we got along okay. And so and I taught him about chanting, and then he's a rapper. He raps, and he'd get on the street, and we'd walk, and he'd just rap away. Like sometimes I'd be a little embarrassed. And he'd mix the Sanskrit new words that he was with the English, and it was so much fun. We had a good time. We'd rap and laugh, and sometimes it gets hard walking through the Appalachians. It's very hard sometimes on the legs and the knees and so on. So just to cut, to have a little change, a breather, we would just rap a little bit together. It was so much fun. And it was interesting. Once we got to the Amish territory country, like where the farmers are, and these are very kind of like, let's say, conservative people. They're really into God and more hard work, family, community. They're really incredible people, and I got a chance to meet quite a few of them. But Pennsylvania, it is kind of, the whole state is pretty conservative, and it's very white, So anyways, so I'm walking, and I'm an older guy with bald, and I got orange clothes on. And there were so many times when we got calls and the police came. Oh, I got a call that there's an escapee from the prison, and they always wear orange, there's some black dude with dreads, and some people got scared. It happened one time. We got in the newspaper, like Walking Monk and all this stuff, walking for our teachers, and got in the front page, and we walked through this one town, and people, hey, people with their coffee, I saw you in the paper, I think it's great what you're doing, like that. And then we went out of that town and went down a valley by a river, and we saw cows, and I had taught Trayvon, and the fellow with me, how to sing Govinda. So we were chanting loudly, Govinda, Adi Purusham, Pamang Bhajami. We were singing real loud, and then 2 police officers came. They think, who's going to sing on the side of the road? And then the way we look, he wears black, I got saffron on. So one officer comes and he slows down, he rolls down the window. Oh, I got a few calls this morning, but I think I know what it's all about. And I said, okay, but I just have to stop and ask you some questions. Okay, so then he asks questions, So what have you got there? What have you got there? These are my meditational beads, okay? And then I told him I'm doing a walk across, like New England for 45 days. I walked across Canada 4 times, And then when they find out you're from Canada, another country, oh, got to be careful, tourists, got to be nice, And it was near Halloween time, so people are freaking, and I realized one thing, that Americans are definitely more paranoid than Canadians. I told the officer, I said, there were 2 officers that came, they wouldn't even smile. Okay, what's going on here? But just like that, I said, I'm a monk and I'm walking. Yeah, but what have you got there? It's not a gun, my meditation beads. What's your name? I showed him my ID and told him, where do you live? I live on Avenue Road, 243 Avenue Road. How do you spell that? Avenue? I said, oh yeah, of course. So we will do. He was so bewildered. And, I said, you guys, you got too many guns in your country? I was just frank. and you watch too many movies. Yeah, well, that might be, but, you know. Anyways, I just couldn't get those two officers to smile. It was just like they were just so bent on, we got a good catch here, and they couldn't do anything with us. Because our records were clear, we had our passports, and if there's nothing, we didn't do anything wrong, you know. So they're just a little bit paranoid over there. And yeah, it's very beautiful because I remember one woman, she had her 11-year-old son in the seat next to him, and he was crying. And he said, "Oh, you're the monk. Can you pray for me? Because my boy had an anxiety attack and I have to drink. Can you pray for us? You know, can you say something to him?" And so I tried to cheer him up a little bit. And those are the kind of things that happen along the way. You meet those kind of people that are very much in need, and they want those things. That's happened in other countries too. I remember doing a big ritual, like on the side of the road, like prayer. People came out. That's somewhere in northern Ontario, and then we did that, and it was beautiful. It's nice to do those things. Another time, I might have told you, there were some women who just finished building a dragon boat for their lake in BC, and they were in a van. So we just finished building a dragon boat, and it's required that there's a monk there for the opening ceremony. You're a monk, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. But I can't leave the highway because my support guys over there, we don't have any phones or any, there's no receivership, so I can't leave. Oh. So what I can do, see that stream there that's fed by the glaciers? I can go down there and I can do some mantras, and I can change it into Ganges water. So, oh, you can do that. Yeah, and then I'll just sprinkle it on you. And then I'll just come up, and then we'll do some mantras together. So we did that. We did some, got in the circle, and then I finished, it is done. And then they all whipped out some dollar bills just to support, you know. So and I said, that's okay, happy dragon boating time. These are like Western ladies, you know, they were into the Buddhism or whatever like that. So people come, it's a beautiful thing about being out there. There was in the one particular area, another gentleman, he was a farmer, clearly a farmer, and they said, you know, I'm going through surgery. He came right on the road from his house, doing surgery. Can you bless me? I says, okay. Can you take off your hat? Sure I can. And so we did some mantras and we blessed him. And he felt so good after that. You know, see, that's what you do when you make friends out there. Because sometimes we're so stuck in our temples and dealing with sometimes the issues, you know, that cause you to reach for your tissues. You know? And when you go out on the road, it's very different. You know, you're meeting people for the first time, and they're all kind of friendly and nice, and they just want to hear or see a little bit. Most people have the idea that a monk is coming to town, that something good is going to happen, you know. And this is so we went very much into Christian territory, but everything ended up very cool and smooth going, and the incredible changes that happened too, from the countryside, by quiet roads, to then Jersey City and New York City, you know. Incredible changes, but mostly in the countryside. Believe it or not, even though we have such an industrialized world, it's good that everybody lives packed together, bother each other to death. But leave the countryside alone, leave it for the animals and the critters, and let it be for them, you know, which is meant to be for them. We did have some speaking engagements too, and I want to share with you one. It was in Juniata College, and the teacher was a vegetarian. I forget her name right now, but she was on the topic. She was not quite on the topic of Hinduism or Bhakti Yoga, but she was. I think they had already done it, or they were about to do something like that. So I explained the essence of bhakti. Then the students were so excited about everything because we chant and dance with the students, right? We show them what we do. and says, "Can we walk with you a little bit?" Sure, we can walk. You know? And then one of the students told me in another religion class, they went through Judaism, and then they went through Christianity, and they went to Islam, and then they came to the Hindu studies, and then the teacher told them about, here's the God of the Hindus. He's a young man. He goes to the holy river, and there young women are bathing. He takes their clothes and puts them in such a way that, you know, you just have to come out now, and I'll give you your clothes. And everyone's jaws are like this, you know. But they really appreciate it, because the God they heard about before was a vindictive God. You know, like a God that's kind of up there, kind of aloof. A God that can be stern and firm and cold and hard and old. You know? Here they heard about a young God who's a little bit playful. So kind of like, wow. There's one thing that really upset us. I was walking in that same town, just leaving that town near where the college was, and myself and Mandala, who was a support person, and chap from Ottawa area, and we saw this sign. It was like an official government sign about a fort. Here's the fort that protected the settlers from the raiding Indians. And I said, Mandala, look at that. So what do you think about that? I said, that's not right. They got it all turned around. I said, yeah. So I took it onto my Instagram, I took a photograph, and I showed different people, what's wrong with the contents here? And people, they spelled color wrong. They didn't quite get it, you know, not everybody could get it. And then I showed it to Trayvon. Hey man, and I was like, hey man, they got it backwards, man. It's the Indians. That was their land, and they're trying to reclaim their land. It's not that you have to protect them, you know, from the raiding Indians. My God, you know, so I can understand there's a heavy kind of conservatism, some very old ideas that need to be, you know, challenged. So there's a lot of wonderful things, and I can go on forever talking about stories, but one thing that was very special to us every day, myself and Trayvon and Mandala, we'd walk somewhere and we'd see an apple tree. And the apple tree was not pesticide. It was planted there maybe 100 years ago, maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago. The apples we take, make a quick offering. There's an explosion of joy because they weren't tampered with. They're the apples the way they should be. Now, tell me the truth, you go to the grocery store, it's pathetic. Looks good, but to the tongue, it's right? So when we would eat those apples, it always brought me back to my childhood, where we lived by an orchard. And I said, this is the goodness that God gives, Krishna gives, right? Look what's going on. And the funny thing about it is, these trees are abandoned. Nobody bothers with them. They'll drive right by and spend all this money on buying apples that have no taste. So I think the world is a little cuckoo, you know, Kali Yuga, big time, mega, crazy. I sometimes think about, okay, we have cold winters here. What do you work for? For about 3 things. Clothes, shelter, maybe some fuel, and food. Can we grow food? They have the technology for greenhousing. You can grow your food. If in a shopping mall they can heat the whole place up, why can't they heat up something that's got glass? Which brings, and you've got lots of sun here in the prairies, why can't we grow our own food? So with the 50 years that are there, Prabhupada didn't want us to go green. He did want us to take care of ourselves. He was a follower of Gandhi. He wanted this self-sufficiency to go on. But how many people are farmers here in this room? How many farmers do we have? I asked the same question in Edmonton this morning. Guess what the answer was? Ding. The answer here, ding. How many people work computers for a living? Oh, shame on you. We do have to get back to the land. We have to start thinking about those things. Okay, some of the young guys here. Second generation, third generation ISKCON devotees. Are any of you thinking about being a farmer? Working the land? Really? Yeah. Yay! High five. Any of the girls? Yes. Okay, so you might think, this life, next life. In the backyard. If we can do some gardening, that's going in the right direction. There's a big push these days in parts of Europe where instead of having a nice green lawn, which is very prevalent in North America, big green, and Mr. Hippo sits on there, spending every 2 weeks. Why don't you put some cauliflower in there? Why don't there's some tomatoes in there, and let people live again. Real life, that's life. And real life is community activities, getting together, singing, dancing. Prabhupada, he did wonderful things. And I'm going to finish on this note, but I'll take 5 minutes on this. Think about the things Prabhupada did for the world. Okay. First of all, he started the Kirtan movement on an international level. The Kirtan movement is very popular now. Even the Grammy Awards honor, they have a genre. You give an award for somebody who does Kirtan. Who started it? Prabhupada. Okay? Yoga, very common, very popular. Of course, Prabhupada started a certain, aspect of yoga, Bhakti Yoga. He started it. He was there. Vedic literatures, translated, voluminous, Bhagavatam, etc., Bhagavad Gita, and so on like that. Boldly started by Srila Prabhupada, a veritable Vedic library. He began it. Animal rights. People now talk about don't harm the dogs, don't harm the cats. But now they say, don't harm the pigs, don't harm the cows. Who started that? Prabhupada. But even before they had movements, he was talking about it right off. Left, right, and center, he was talking about don't kill the bull and the cow. They are like our father and mother. What else did he do? He boldly spoke about vegetarianism. When I joined the movement, there was hardly a vegetarian at that time. I could hardly find a vegetarian friend. So I became, because I met devotees. But now, so many people are saying, and it's actually cool to be a vegetarian. And if you say you're vegetarian, oh, you must be really healthy. Like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about reincarnation? Everybody believes, so many people, even Catholics, they believe in reincarnation, a high percentage. Who talked about it boldly? Srila Prabhupada. And the list goes on and on. Now, one thing that Prabhupada did that was very unique, he redefined how to have a party. Okay, now when you think about a party, whether it's in the Eastern Hemisphere or Western Hemisphere, it's all pretty much the same. What are the components to a party? Alcohol, and maybe some other things. All kinds of things, right? What else? People. What else? Food. Noise,
dancing.
Some kind of music, maybe dancing. What else? Yes? Disco. Yes. What else? All the young people know about parties. How are they spending their lives? What's that? Fun? Okay, they're having fun. Yes. They're having fun until the next morning. And also opportunities to meet somebody, spend the night with somebody. Okay, you know, it's kind of gross when you think about it, you know. You're taking things that are damaging, you're meeting people, you know, if they've transmitted diseases, you know. You know, all kinds of things like that, you know. And this is supposed to be a party. Yay! A party. And then the next morning, like molasses. How many people have had those experiences from the past before you got involved in more pure life? Yes? Come on, come on, come on. Okay. Or you've seen it. Okay? Yeah, seen it, been there, done it. So these are the things that we must be thinking about. So Prabhupada had the basic components. He said, okay, people, yes. Music, yes. Drums, live music. Like, not just press a button and live music. Drums that get you moving. Other instruments. Dancing. Singing. Feasting. Until you get tired and you lie down. And talking nice to each other. That's the idea of party. And as far as getting stoned or drunk, just take a little extra sugar. Eat an extra gulp to it. That's all. And just the chanting itself brings you up, you know, up. And as Hayagriva said, you know, not the Hayagriva that drives around here, but the original Prabhupada's Hayagriva, he said, take the mantra, it'll bring you high, and you won't have to come down again. Yeah. So, parties, which are very important in people's lives, are redefined by Srila Prabhupada. So we're just saying, try it out, take to it. So you might try those kind of things. In Vancouver, the devotees have, it's every 2 weeks, they have Enchant. And they also have programs called Kirtan Vancouver. So this welcomes new people, and the people are just starting to get into the yoga kirtans, and they have a real nice time. And in Montreal, the devotees have a similar kind of program. They're approaching a different audience, and they have some success. It's small groups. In Toronto, they get 70 to 80 people once a month, evening of bhakti, and new people come. And you know, we used to do it in the dining room, and now they do it in Govinda's because the dining room wants to stay open. So we thought, oh God, they're going to put the deities, you know. What are they going to think about the deities? So everything's closed off. They put out nice carpets and some yoga, you know, seats and things like that. And then they put little lights all over the place, you know, make it kind of mystical, you know, and cool. And then they sing like sweet, easy music and soft, easy to follow. They have the words on the screen. And they explain what the mantras are, you know, and people love it. And then at the end, we were wondering the first time we did it. You were there? 8 o'clock. Okay, now we have to explain what the deities are, because, you know, some people might be, have heard about idol worship, and if you're a Jew or you're a Christian, you might have heard. And of course, the Islamic community, you know. No, but it wasn't like that. We didn't get that. These are open-minded people. This is beautiful, and they start to dance. People like this, you know. So these are the kind of things that we can do right here in this building, and you can do those kind of things for the 50th anniversary. You might even consider how to package Rath Yatra. Tell me honestly, is it working? Rath Yatra? Yes, to some extent. My observation is, yes, it's us. There's a few people on the street. We go to the park at the end, it's us. There's no new people. Maybe we need to repackage it. India Day. Bring in the best entertainers, the very best, the tabla players, the dancers, you know, bring in the best food, sell some of it, you know, and, you know, promote it like that. You know, I'm not saying you should stop your thing, but just it's all in the promotion and the marketing. And I told you I was going to stop, right? Last thing, very last thing. When I finished walking through Connecticut and I stepped into New York City, I got a call. Of course, he was returning my call. I did. Peter Burwash, he was a motivational speaker. He's Canadian born. He opened up tennis schools. They went all over the world. He insists everyone must be vegetarian. Prabhupada spent 3 hours with him, how to run a good business. He gave 9 points, and he ran a good business. So Peter, I call him once a year, and I just, I had asked him, so Peter, now that first 50 years are over, and we have succeeded, we're here to stay. Now, what do you feel we should concentrate on? And basically he was saying 2 things. Marketing. Our marketing has to be effective. So when I see your, by the way, I love your interior, wherever you did the space walls. That's unique. I love it. The outside, we got to do something. It's plain Jane. It's embarrassing. Got to put a dome on it or something, or a big mural, something. Please think about it. Okay, marketing. So marketing, branding. That's what he's saying. And number 2, next generation. Pump them up, empower them, give them the opportunities, let them run it's my idea, let them run one of the Sunday programs. Give them one festival, just them, it's their doing. See what they can do, they'll do magic. They're raised here, they have good ideas, they know the talk, they know the walk, so, give them a chance. Give them a chance. Prabhupada started his movement with a bunch of young people. So some of us older geezers, we have to follow the routine of roll over Beethoven. We're coming in with our rock and roll. Okay? So in other words, some of us have been around, we have to start blessing more. We have to sit to the side and be there for them to let them do what they can do. After all, they're great musicians, we have bright young people. The smartest people. Smartest. And thanks to you for putting them in there, into those places where they can get a good education. So now, let's be totally smart. Now, let's get honest here. It's not about them getting a good paycheck. No. Their smarts are for God, right? And that includes the family, that includes the paycheck, that includes strong community and so on like that. So utilize them, use them, work them, give them a chance. I was just in Mauritius and there we did a drama and I had these are like very shy people, and when I first approached them, they all appeared to me like, you know what? You're all a bunch of stiff ironing boards and we're going to loosen you up. So at the end of after 6 days, they became so free and people got to see, these are our young people, we're not using them as much as they could be. Because they grew up here, many of them born here, grew up here, they understand the mentalities of the different people. So if we are serious about spreading Krishna consciousness to the world, give them that chance. And many of us are frozen like my parents. If you're born in Gujarat, you're still in Gujarat. When my father passed away, he was still in Holland. He was in his 80s. He was talking in Dutch. He was talking about, the streets, the canals. He was talking about when he was a kid. So we are conditioned like that. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So my request to you is, think about, what works, what doesn't work, tweak the festivals, make it a little more relevant to people's lives, Indian food, Indian festival, Indian music, Indian clothes, just highlight that a bit more, And then, of course, we have our Krishna Conscious banner and Indian philosophy, our books. Right? Take advantage of it. What do you think? Is that cool or what?
Amazing. We should do that. Yeah.
Are you for it?
Yeah.
How many people are with me on that? All right. So start organizing yourselves. It's not too late. I understand you're on July the 30th. sorry I can't make it here. I'm doing a walk across the U.S. from New York City to San Francisco. And if you have a little extra time, come and join me. I might need to be picked up once in a while on the road. So we're doing this in honor of Prabhupada for the 50th, and because he moved that way. He started from New York, and he went to the West, and then he went back to India, so on like that. So we're following him. Just this year I'm doing it. And I just also want to let you know that we're working with, especially Vrinda in Winnipeg and Kashyap Muni in Saskatoon, to have a regular, every once a month there's a speaker coming here, a guest speaker, from abroad or from within. How do you like that? Okay? Just put it in your budget. You got to pay for it, put a little money in for the travel expense. Okay? But that's what I feel. In my travels, we need to sort of break the isolationism. And we need kind of like fresh people coming in. And so you'll be behind that as well. Is that okay?
Beautiful.
Now, what to do? What's the rest of the program? Announcement.
We have great announcement also.
Great
It's
announcement.
coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Okay. Is he doing good? Is he doing good? Don't eat too much prasadam, okay? Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you all chant Mahamantra very loudly? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We thank you, Maharaj, once again. It was a wonderful talk, yeah?
Yes.
You mind if I just throw this out? Okay, whoever can catch this. Very good. So that was a nice talk today. Tomorrow also we will have something different from Maharaj. The uniqueness of Maharaj is every time he gives a lecture, he has so many things.
Give a what?
There's so many new ideas, new concepts to share, and especially for the youth, for all of us, the upcoming youth who will take over and look after the temple congregation. So he's very inspiring to the youth. So I'm also very inspired by Maharaj. Thank you so much.
I'm inspired by you.
So we'll go up next with the upcoming events. This is a fruit basket. Maharaj will be distributing. First come, first serve. So rush for it. Maharaj's blessings will be you'll be getting the blessings. So first come, first serve. I'll ask Ardhamani Prabhu to start the donation announcements, and then we'll sing Mahaprasad prayers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for coming to our Sunday program and joining us in glorifying Shri Radha Madhavji, Lord Srinathji, Shri Gaur Nitai and Srila Prabhupada.